Man, I'm sure you get detox. Every day it's a crime in New York. It's a vandalism in government. It's a vandalism in parliament. And don't judge me wrong. See them walking bout and gone. I hear how they break the weed. They teach the US but leave the TT. That's the bandit. Look the bandit. When your husband was walking was ham and jam. As they retrench him, you're only man. That's the bandit. Look the bandit. And when they can't get the things they want, they lock you inside a master trunk. That's the bandit. Look the bandit. Well, looky there, looky there, looky there, looky there, looky there. Hold him, don't let him get away. Boy, boy, boy. Hi, hi, hi. Boy, boy, boy. Hi, hi, hi.
Yes, indeed, of course. Pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, in Trinidad, or friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is the corridor transformation. Let me make sure. It's not Wednesday. It's the Thursday edition of the week, and therefore, of course, you know what happens on Friday. No corridor transformation. Of course, I am in my what we normally would call in Trinidad my favorite water hole. I'm not going to say where it is because these days it's a bit dangerous to say where you are at a particular point in time. But of course, I think it is common knowledge that I'll be at Spargos. Wow. Oh, slip of the tongue, Freudian slip. But that being as it may, you are invited, of course, to share, to visit. And of course, in spite of the challenges, what you say is Lennox Smith, and you say that you are connected, of course, to the MLIO Empowerment and Transformation Center. As the young people would say, it's the first time they have seen so many people traversing or walking up or down on George Street in Port of Spain, East Port of Spain. So to be more specific, simply because of the presence of elements such as that are for positive development and the confidence reposed by the community in themselves and in the ability of the institution that would have been designed to service them, their own advancements and development. But that being as it may, of course, let's hear a little more of that theme song tonight, which of course Bandits. That's a bandit.
This bandit war affecting the rich and poor. I say in this bandit war, frustrating the boys.
I see that, of course, Joshua is a bit tardy tonight. He came from school a bit late. He had some lessons to do. We did some lessons as well at home here at the center. And then, of course, he had to take a refresh, so to speak. So I don't know, and of course, eat something as well. And of course, they inveigled me a little earlier to have them see the visiting warship of the United States dock at near the Hyatt Hotel. We went down there, but we didn't get a chance to see it because I don't know what has happened here, but the Galleon Passage seemed to have been resurrected, and it was blocking, of course, the view of that particular warship. But they are planning to go tomorrow morning. I understand it will be leaving the country tomorrow. And therefore, of course, what Joshua wanted to do was to see it physically in person. So I suppose he wants to chalk up that as part of his youthful experience. So when he gets a little older, of course, he'll tell his kids that I saw, of course, a warship, because that is a rare occasion in these parts. After all, and I'm being, of course, facetious. Yeah, I'm talking tongue in cheek. Because those who have declared Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, of course, a zone of peace, you really have to say that it is a joke. So therefore, tongue in cheek. The Caribbean being a zone of peace, but here it is, Venezuela is destabilizing at will, and they have nothing to say. But let's go straight to the line. Of course, one time I see that people are taking the advantage. Let me just take up that piece of music. Yes, indeed, of course. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Uncle Lennox, and to all your listeners in sundries.
Yes.
So all the listeners who are still to come on and who are on, share the live. Thank
you very much for that. Sometimes my enthusiasm, I omit to, of course, beseech to, of course, share. So I thank you for that consideration. Go ahead, Mr. Faizabadi.
And all those, if they could just drop 1 liter super or leaded, the price for Uncle Lennox, $1.
Yeah. The price of or the worth of 1 liter, we will certainly be appreciative. All right?
Because if you get the 1 liter full, it will help you. So you can move about to serve the people.
That's
if
right.
You get the cash, if you get the cash, you can put up to buy a tire for the vehicle to roll with the 1 liter. So we need it anyway, in the bottle or in the red.
Yes. So, and I want to say it is becoming dire at this time as well, because there is, of course, a necessity to engage in the other programs that we would have outlined, but of course financial constraints would have, of course, inhibit so far the rolling out as we would like. But go ahead, my friend, you are right on every single nail you have hit on the head there. Beautiful, well done. Go ahead.
So, as everything else, now I'm going to buy my airtime. So, Uncle Lennox.
Yes.
You know what is the strangest thing about the PNM with Penelope Beckles and Astrodata, Brown and Penny? You know what I like about them? They have foot and mouth disease, right? And now we have a next one called foot, mouth, and anal disease.
Wow.
So, because I said that analysts coming out and defending them and talking and saying that a zone of peace and a war and a provocation. But Uncle Lennox, I just watch mainstream media, the narrative, who does want to push the PNM narrative for fun, because that is get nothing from the PNM. And they just push the narrative for the sake of the people to be in poverty.
So it is recreational.
Yeah.
Recreational purposes. All right, of course. All
right. That
one. All right. Go ahead.
So that one is what the public and the listeners to believe, right? Because I just see on the news that Maduro saying that he want an olive branch to my esteemed political leader. After all of them talking, and you know, the man who talking about my prime minister, yeah, she's a drunkard, but that's why she raised the price of rum. She don't want no other person to get drunk and falling down. She want upright citizens. So just imagine that fella is a fella with a little talk show in Venezuela. But talking my esteemed political leader, Miss Kamala, the Honorable Miss Kamala Prasad Bisesa SC, and then Maduro now extending an olive branch, and then people contradicting themselves. They and all have foot, mouth, and anal disease. Because I don't know which part the whole thing gone up. Because they want to push that Trinidad in war. They're going in supermarket and telling people panic buying, the mountain. Mountain into the 1st of November, Halloween. Also and All Saints Day together. But people shopping to do the little Thanksgiving and making the little kakada to stretch it to go again to buy in the business. But the panic buying. The PNM, just imagine, if they had fixed road, they might get some traction, Uncle Lennox, because they're just spinning like, them long time stylish magnum, they call spinners.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything they do, they're just spinning right there. Right there, they're picking up no momentum. Penny, earlier, my honorable Prime Minister says CPEP and URP will not be for people of campaign managers. It's for the people. And URP won't be for ghosts, it will be for real people. Penny. But here what's going on now? Uncle Lennox, Jamaica just sympathize and condolences to all those who lost their loved ones in Jamaica.
Yes, and
right?
several deaths, yeah. Nearly a dozen deaths. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, blowing off roof. And we will be so traumatized. Just imagine what them went through. And them is a hilly country. So, I want to ask now, if Ralph Gonzalez and that Antigua and all the next one who sided with Rowley for a zone of peace and the Caribbean of peace, if the United States decide to send aid to help the people of Jamaica and they send the Marines and them, or that same ship will leave Trinidad, right? And they instruct it to go up there, right? Because they have 150 personnel on board. And they tell them, go there and do some humanity work up there. I wonder what the rest of them in the Caribbean will say. What Penny will say.
Well, don't be surprised. Penny is such in a state of stupor. I say a nice word for stupidity, that she will find herself up in Jamaica, saying that I know, and suggesting that because Kamala Prasad Misasa, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, can't walk, she is there walking, and therefore she should be given credibility and, of course, prime ministerial status. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But go ahead. I thought I saw a pattern, so trying to conclude that pattern or to continue in that vein. Go ahead.
No, correct. That is what you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, yes.
The people will understand it too. And sooner or later, because she negotiated, she talking to the ambassador, she and every Brown. But but let me finish this conversation first.
Yes.
Yeah, and she don't surprise to see she got tall boots and a raincoat to go when it's sun hot in Jamaica, right? And walking around the city and
she go help this and she go help that. I suppose with some of the ill-gotten gains that she and close to her, and of course the members of her party, when they were in government, of course, not just pilfered, but was larcenous in terms of their conduct and the interfering of the national purse and taxpayers' money. Go ahead.
Yeah, and she's trying to be of status that she could get the job done. But Penny is only 6 months. It ain't a good 6 months, baby. The child
caller, hold on. I have another caller on the line, so just hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
The child is fully mature. Penny is 9 months yet. So here what's going on. You was in a government. You didn't care about your own people who flooded out in Bamboo number 1, 2, and in Diego Martin. Where all it was? Where all it was, Penny? Penny, Arima people was in trouble on the highway when it flooded out, Penny. Penny, but all you don't know about taking care of their own. But you negotiated? Penny, who played with the texicles? Who rigging it? Who dangling it for you? That you had to talk about this drug and gas, and you fighting everything else. and then apologizing and saying, you're singing like you're only fighting for criminality, but it's late to see no penny girl. But sorry to say, that was ex-colony life. Uncle Lennox,
yeah, no problem. Only to conclude that it could be, it's two sides of the coin. It's either you are pro-democracy and sympathetic with the people of Venezuela, or you are the opposite. And clearly, they have demonstrated the opposite. Let me just, what's happening here? Let me just, something has been triggered. Let me just make sure. All right, good. Now we get that settled. All right, okay, caller on the line. Go ahead. You are on the handset. Make your contribution.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night, my friend.
This is Diego Martin inside.
Ah, yes, Diego Martin. Oh, sorry I have you on the handset. I would love you to be on the system itself. But I wouldn't put you through the process of having to recall. Go ahead.
No, you want me to call on the landline?
Yeah, I'll prefer that so that I get you directly on the system, because we normally will engage in conversation and I want to get every morsel of the contribution that you would have made.
I will call you back on the...
All right, great. Thank you very much, yes. All right, so Mr. Diego Martin has given us the pleasure of course, calling on the system itself rather than on the handset, so that we can get every item. Yes, every item that he would have, of course, want to share with us tonight. All right, but whilst Faizabad was speaking, I recall editorial in the Newsday, yes, where in effect they were saying that here it is, Penny presented her maiden budget as opposition leader, and she was unable to make the impact that she would have liked, and still to do so, because she was taken immediately after to the Privileges Committee. All right, well, I think we have to go straight there then. All right, it didn't work as I expected, so go ahead now. Yeah.
Okay, you hear me because I'm hearing
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'll put it in the speaker as you notice, but it is similarly effective or just as effective. Go ahead.
Okay, I listened to the discourse on penniless, senseless.
Yeah.
But I want to know what was that meeting all about, because she's heading on the details. But I juxtaposing that to the stalling of the construction of Malaysia House.
All right.
And I want to know if that meeting has anything to do. Because two investigation I want to happen, man. I'm calling it out loud. You know, we had an ambassador, Dylan, I think is in Venezuela. Caracas.
In Venezuela, yes, and he is yet to be found, so one assumed that he would have been somewhere lost in Venezuela.
All right, and then there is another one. They say he was an Eneza finance man, was stationed in Guyana. They call him Enel.
Yes, Guyana and Suriname. I think they post him to as ambassadors.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, my mind really expands and really function on conspiracy.
Yes.
Did these two ambassadors have U.S. bank account in the name? That is the question I asked.
Well, I would assume so. I mean, they are ambassadors first and foremost. One expects that your bank account for the country to which you would have been assigned would be the major currency of the world. Yeah, go ahead.
And would those bank accounts used for nefarious activities? And I would call it nefarious activities.
Such as what transpired in Europe when, of course, the Deutsche Bank, I believe it was. Yes. Yes, asked them to close their accounts there. And, of course, they have said that Amy Brown was trying to tell us that is a new policy position and so. But we realized that Trinidad was one of few banks from countries few accounts from countries that would have been asked to close up shop. They don't want to do business with them. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I was wondering because it has to have some sort of activities. Should I put nefarious, quote unquote, because these fellas, when they to do Trinidad business and apparently nothing was done, I would have liked to weigh them before they left the country, and when they come back, they say how fat they got based on the eater food syndrome they have, and which is basically is tantamount to how the PNM people behave.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue I am thinking about, I heard Taipan
Your what?
went into Parliament and he told us that his mother has an ailment. I wouldn't call it.
Alrari, yes. Sukaran. Yes.
And that tells me he shows some sort of empathy for the human being. But he's showing empathy to his friends and family. He didn't show that to the
Yeah, the matriarch, the person who, of course, wield their influence to get him through the system, and one can safely say undeservingly, because he didn't pay his natural dues. But go ahead.
And he participated in so many recusal. I was saying one of the senators say is about 500 and something recusal.
Yeah, in total, yeah. I mean, that is despicable. One is a menace, and of course, 2 or 3. And of course, in the PNM's case under Rowley, it became a habit to steal the public's purse.
So
We're going to deal with that, yes.
So they, in fact, wasn't doing none of the people's work. They were playing musical chair. I wonder what music they were playing.
To what tune they were dancing? I hear you.
You understand? Absolutely no, because if the White House and the diplomatic center was in that sort of dilapidated condition,
Yes.
they were interested in anything other than filling the pocket.
Yeah.
Now, the other side of him showing some sort of empathy for his mom, I think he's stirring up sympathy for himself because he's trying to get the citizen to support him, because when Silver Bracelet and Blue Lights come flashing for him, he expects the citizen
Yeah, people to respond sympathetic to him.
You understand?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's showing that sort of empathy. So many, 625 murders. Did you ever hear he said anything to the friends and the family? It's so sad.
In 9 years.
And I'm supporting our Prime Minister, who continued to say the newspaper, the Fourth Estate, is the mouthpiece of the PNM, particularly GML Holdings, who is no longer no guardian of democracy. They continue to pontificate.
And promote what I consider to be anti-democratic disposition and unprincipled stance in terms of recognizing and understanding that there is an entrenched government, and therefore you should do nothing to try to undermine or subvert. But we are seeing them, of course, whether it be clandestinely, whether it be overtly, whether it be by subterfuge. They have been, of course, engaged, and any discerning citizen will draw that conclusion inescapably as well. But go ahead.
And what we have as citizens have to do, just as how we use our fingers
Yes.
and remove the PNM, what we have to do is keep our dollars in our pocket and do support that group, the GML holding group.
Magnificent, what I consider to be idea for action. Magnificent idea for action, yes.
Because the way to shut them up is to sing them. that is the only way we can.
Yeah, because I see that they have been reeling in recent times because social media has been the bane for their bottom line, so much so that they have restructured the newspaper part of it, the communications part of it, if you want to call it that, in order to stay above water. Meaning that their profit margins are certainly dwindling, and at times, of course, they made no profits in that field, which they made millions of when they were the dominant factor in Trinidad and Tobago as far as news and the dissemination of information is concerned.
And there was a piece by, I can't remember the journalist, I'm not too sure which of the dailies, who said that there was going to be an extension of about 6 months for the SOE, and everything was so wrong, and
Yeah.
they continue to parrot all sorts of misinformation.
Yes.
And the country, we cannot do that.
Yeah.
And I've seen the PNM membership has grown. They have added the Moduro clan onto it. So the next time they're going to say they have 1 million members.
Well, it appears, and that if they want to nestle that notion in biblical reference, then of course what PNM is building is the Tower of Babel, and you know what transpired there. It came crashing down. Yeah.
Coming to the Christian part of it, but before this, I see Maduro rile up the people to march and say they don't want a persona non grata. But
Yeah, persona non grata, yes, and then of course I understand somebody said earlier he has now extended an olive branch. I mean, the man the man like Cummins, you know if you come in or you go in.
Right, but the important thing is, don't he know that 25 to 30% of his population march against him and they march out the country?
Yeah, that he cannot see because he is that myopic or blind.
He's naive and dotish, just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the PNM.
Yeah, definitely. And we have to call it
Right.
out. We have to call a speed a speed.
Last Christian biblical saying,
Go ahead.
Goliath and David. David was the conquering one, right?
Yes.
And he was Amil. Karma has a way of showing us what we cannot see, but we feel it.
Yes.
The equivalent heroine to David in the scripture, I think it's Judges or something like that, had a heroine called
Yes.
Jael, Jael, a heroine, and that is our KPB.
I hear you, man. Honorable Kamala Prasad Bissessa, Prime Minister current of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Right. So that is our heroine.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because she took on Ceressus,
The Goliath.
who was the general in the Canaanites.
Yes.
And when the Israelites run them out of town, he seek comfort in Jael's tent, and she got rid of him.
Yes, man.
So I'm not calling our honorable KPB Jean d'Arc, as the French will say. The English people will say Joan of Arc. I'm going back to Christian, biblical,
Jewish,
history, and
yes.
call KPB the jail of Trinidad and Tobago.
I hear you, my
And she
friend.
will
Yes,
take
man.
care of all those bullies as Goliath.
Yes.
But have a nice evening.
Same to you, my friend. Yes, indeed, of course, always very, very on point, and of course, creating, of course, the stir that one expects. Of course, Joshua is joining us, so he's tardy, he's late, but of course, let me just. I was going to, of course, before we come on. Yes, bring the mic closer to you. Yeah, before, of course, we go to Joshua. He will take his 5 minutes, even though, of course, it is tardy, it is late for him. But of course, we had consumed his. So what he's what he's insisting is that he become compensated. So we are going to compensate him. But I want to say before we go, you're seeing, of course, a video behind me. Well, that is the statement that I promised that would have been made and was in fact made by the Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, my party, on the question of Kamala Prasad Bissessa, her adversaries, or who would have been in the person of the opposition leader, the Maduro administration at the various levels, as well as CARICOM. So listen to this before we go to Joshua, all right? And you will get an appreciation. We will play it a little later, but I want to make sure that we appreciate the concerns that we would have had.
Condemnation of opposition leader Ms. Penelope Beckles.
So let's start all over. Go ahead.
Strong support for Honorable Prime Minister Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessa. And condemnation of opposition leader Ms. Penelope Beckles and unsupportive CARICOM for TNT stance on Venezuela. The Laventille-based regional political party, Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, LOVE, and a member of the current UNC-led coalition of interest government, has condemned in the strongest possible terms a slew of recriminations and criticisms of the government of Trinidad and Tobago in relation to its stance on the presence of United States forces in the Southern Caribbean region. The local official opposition in Parliament, CARICOM in Venezuela, and the ongoing apparent war of words impasse. LOVE says that it supports the nationalistic in Trinidad and Tobago first stance taken by the government in the fight against human trafficking, guns and ammunition running and narcotics reaching or transshipping using Trinidad and Tobago's territorial waters. LOVE said the government cannot be faulted for doing the job it received a massive mandate to perform on April 28th this year. Political leader of LOVE, Mr. Lennox Smith, said, "The crime scourge, corruption, and mismanagement of the resources of the country by the previous PNM administration were the major issues the population was concerned about. Thus, the overwhelming mandate handed to the UNC coalition of interest, which is now in government." Mr. Smith said he and his party is concerned with what he describes as the accurate and blatant unfair and excessive condemnation of the government in seeking the interests of Trinidad and Tobago in the increasing complex web of regional and hemispheric geopolitics in which Trinbago must navigate in its interests. He thanked Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessa for taking courageous and strong position she has taken against CARICOM, Venezuela, the local opposition, and all those who do not have a responsibility of managing the affairs of TNT at this time, noting that opposition leader Penelope Beckles cannot speak officially for country and sees her meeting with the Venezuelan ambassador as a fake misrepresentation designed to undermine the forthright handling of the situation by the Honorable Prime Minister. LOVE commends the efforts of the United States against the drug cartels operating in South America and the Southern Caribbean, an effort Trinidad and Tobago is benefiting from at a time when financial and logistical resources are not available to government to address the issues on its own. Over 600 murders annually, and being the sixth most dangerous country in the world, is not a sustainable position TNT will like to be in, LOVE statement concluded.
Yes, indeed, of course, that was the end of that. Yes, indeed, of course. So I want to welcome, of course, Joshua immediately. Give him his 10 minutes or so. I trust that you heard that clearly. If not, of course, we'll play it again a little later. Welcome, Joshua. How was your day today?
Good night, everybody. Day was good.
Ah.
Well, not too good. I forgot to tell everybody this, including you, Daddy.
Okay, go ahead.
Yesterday I was playing ball.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Yes.
not really ball, like, I just wanted
What,
to practice.
football, cricket, what
No,
kind?
I was right outside in front of the building.
Uh-huh.
I just picked up my ball. And two boys from my class take the ball. One bat it out of my hand.
Took the ball?
Took the
Yeah.
ball, straight over to the next one behind me, and both of them ran with it. And it's until, like, down by Independence Square with the stop.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I didn't know, but people were recording us. People sent pictures to the school after that.
Mhm.
We still had the school uniforms on.
You had on yours as well? Oh.
Yeah, I was just thinking about do it at air check.
Yeah, but you know you're not supposed to do that. And why you're telling me now? People, of course, that is news to me. So, and what transpired there?
Well, I got the ball back, and today
Uh-huh.
they sent, like yesterday after school when that happened,
Uh-huh.
like they sent a video to the principal,
Mm-hmm.
and Miss did see we and tell us about it, but in class,
Mm-hmm.
and after she she when we was in assembly for lunch,
Uh-huh.
like everyone, it's actually hard day, everybody had to go out for assembly after lunchtime,
Uh-huh.
and instead of only talking to us, Miss just say, Miss told everybody. She never called no name. She just say two boys ran with a ball. Um, thief a child ball and ran.
All right. So that was a topic in school today? All right, okay. But of course, I had told you not to leave the ball first and foremost outside in that area where anybody could take it first and second. Secondly, I told you to put it in a particular place where it is much more safe. So that you see, so you were the cause of that whole situation as well because of what people? Disobedience. Disobedience. Right? And that is something, of course, talking to those children who may be still up. And of course, parents have a responsibility to enforce discipline. All right? All right. So I have disciplined him on air. All right? So that I expect that will not happen. And I'm sure. So where's the ball now?
Well, after changing the clothes and thing, I went and play football after, and the ball gets stuck in the roof in the court.
You get on the roof of the court, so it's still there?
Yes,
And you did not tell us anything? You didn't tell me or?
that is some mommy.
Oh, you told mommy. Okay, all right. No problem. I wasn't aware, so that is news to me. All right, are you reading anything for us tonight?
No.
Nothing? All right, so what you want to do for us tonight? Let me see if I get the blackboard, people. Let me see if I get
Not the blackboard.
that blackboard. People, of course, we are going to be using this particular classroom to treat with, of course, all of the things that he will be pursuing in future. So just watch at it. Yes, it's a virtual blackboard, a virtual classroom, and we are going to be doing our work on that particular blackboard. Last night, of course, you saw where we did some grammar. I have not been able to pull it up tonight because I would have wanted to share that with you. But that being as it may, it is getting late. He has to go to bed for, of course, classes tomorrow. So on Saturday, we expect to have a full session with utilizing the virtual classroom that we have created in order to, of course, share information with the younger folks, those who are up, and of course we try to dedicate Saturdays to the young people. We expect a number of them to be here. We want to get some pizza for them and all of that in order to motivate and encourage them. And of course we will have to probably schedule that aspect of it a little earlier on a Saturday because we are dedicating it to those youth. So no need for us to come out here 8 o'clock in the night when in fact we could do it a little earlier. And of course catch all the kids up, and of course all parents directing their children to look at that corridor transformation, let's say educational session or educational theme or educational opportunity. We will look at that as I said. So look out for that Saturday. Don't forget tomorrow is no program, but of course we'll be making the announcement between tomorrow and when we would have had, we'll start at 8 o'clock on Saturday, but after that we will start a little earlier. You'll be told about it thereafter. You have something to say?
You said that 2 weeks ago.
I said it 2 weeks ago, yes, but I want to tell you that life also has disappointments. Sometimes you plan, but it doesn't occur at the time that you would like. But what is important is that you would have planned, and you would have spoken it, and you would have written it, and one expects that over time, even though it may not be on the time that you said, that you planned, but the fact is that once you make it happen, eventually, then you would have accomplished your goal. That is part of life. Life has disappointment, and delivering something that may be out of time is also part of it. But there are some things that you cannot deliver outside of time. Otherwise, you lost a whole opportunity. Like, of course, the budget that is being debated now in Parliament, it must finish at the end of this month in order for the new fiscal or the budget
Strong
year to
support
start.
for Honorable Prime Minister Mrs. Kamala Persibye-Sesser, and condemnation of opposition leader Ms. Penelope Beckles, and
Something has happened. You thought something? All right.
Probably because the mic in the middle of some wires.
Okay. All right. All right. So, any parting words quickly, because we have to get back to the substantive matter that we have identified for tonight.
But before I leave, I noticed that nobody is saying my name in chat except for one person.
One person, who is that?
Reynolds
And what he said? What he said?
Donna.
What he said? Because there's somebody called Slimy. They asked me to ban. I am not in the habit of banning anyone or any thing. I believe in. I'm a stickler and ardent supporter of free speech. However, of course, if it is obnoxious, if it is unproductive to the extreme, then of course I will take action. So, Slimy or whosoever you are, or anybody who is of that ilk, I want to tell you that because I have not yet acted, it doesn't mean to say that you have an elastic position, meaning that you can do it in perpetuity and action will not be taken if you are that obnoxious and unproductive. We cannot afford, the young people in particular, cannot afford people to be brutally uncouth, brutally disrespectful, brutally uncultured, and expect to be on this program where young people, we are trying to, of course, nurture and bring them up in the right way in order to make them productive citizens and law-abiding. Yeah. So you were saying what? Yeah, anything else?
Somebody say Slimy finally go.
Oh, he said, sign me finally going. All right. Okay. I think Andy did that today. He told me that he was doing it because people are really very, very concerned about some of the commentary. I understand it's bordering, if not actual obscenity and all of that, which of course is counterproductive, and it does not augur well for such individuals and a program like this. Yeah, go ahead.
So we finally banning Slimy.
Yes. Yeah, if I find him there exhibiting that extreme obscenity. All right, so that's it. Thank you very much, son. And of course, take off the mic as you leave.
Yeah, but it's one thing I noticed. Every time I not hear Slimy, not even in chat. But every time I hear Slimy just talking.
All right, well, that's your luck. That's your forte, probably. That's your fortune or misfortune, as the case may be.
Day before, but since I started come.
Well, right. Maybe he is realizing that he cannot use those kinds of terms when children are wrong. And if that is so, it means that he has a conscience. He or she, because Slimy could mean the way how social media is expansive, where people can disguise and be anybody from a virtual perspective. All right, let's call it a day.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, bye-bye. All right, so we are back to big people business, but in the meantime, of course, let's play that tune. The bandit scare, the bandit, whatever it is.
The bandit.
Yes indeed. Boy, you must see. Why is it? No.
This bandit war affecting the rich and poor. I say in this bandit war, frustrating the boys and girls. You don't have to be a capitalist to be on the wanted list. The operation is well tight. And them mugging black is white. 100 million missing in PCO. Who keep we money we want to know. That's a bandit. Look.
Yes, indeed. Of course, I played that because of the issues that is now confronting Trinidad and Tobago, the region, the hemisphere. And that is, of course, the conduct of the Venezuelan authorities. Some say that they are illegitimate. Others say that they do not worth their salt. Others say that it is a bunch of bandits. And, of course, that have commandeered government across there in Venezuela. And, of course, the credibility and the veracity of all of that clearly is nestled in practicality. What are the practicalities? Well, over 8 million people migrate from that place. Not because they are wealthy, not because they are looking to improve the circumstances of other countries. No, as is normal, a person wanting to go to the United States because they want to make themselves better. Well, these people want to make themselves better, not that they are in a similar circumstance that, let's say, a person from Trinidad going to the United States or India going to the United States. No, it's a different thing. They have been forced out because of artificial poverty, artificially created economy that, in other words, that could have been much better and at one time was in fact so, in spite of the challenges as one expects in any country. United States is not devoid of crime. So let's not waste time. Nor is it, of course, immune from natural and other disasters. But when you compare it to other countries, clearly it's a place that most people want because of its the influence and because of the opportunities. It is called, of course, the American dream. There is, of course, a Trinidad dream. As indeed one expects that there will be and is, of course, a Venezuelan dream. I take note of the Venezuelan activists, in spite of Abdullah and, of course, Cambon and all of they who claim that they are Latinos and, of course, Venezuelans. But here it is, you have a Venezuelan activist. Her name has escaped me at this point in time. But she said, what's her name? Ms. Gonzalez. But she said in no uncertain terms that she would like the whole process of Trump and his army expediting the removal of Maduro and his cronies. Yeah. But Abdullah and they are saying they are against that because they have demonstrated that by going to the American embassy, in front of the American embassy, suggesting that, of course, it's the Americans that are the ones that are threatening the Caribbean as this concept. It originated in a particular era. I think it was 1934, somewhere there. The declaration of the area as a zone of peace. So there is, of course, some antecedent, there is some basis, there is some origination of that concept. But it cannot be, in the context of contemporary and modern world and the hemisphere, be taken in a vacuum. In other words, not considering what has happened in Venezuela and why over 8 million Venezuelans would have migrated out of there, the democratic principles that have been infringed, the persecution of its own people, the intolerance by the Maduro administration for opposition, and their orchestration, including, of course, utilizing the security forces to have their pernicious, wicked, diabolical, and evil ways. And why am I'm saying that against our own experience, my own experience in Trinidad, where you had a government that on the face of it, prima facie, it says that, of course, it observed democratic principles, the Westminster system of government, but did everything to engage in what is called an auto coup. Auto coup is, of course, when a particular political party gets into government, it does everything. It is obsessed with staying in power. So it undermines and subverts democratic institutions, significant institutions that are supposed to generate checks and balances, whether it be the courts, whether it be, of course, what we call under the Constitution independent commissions such as the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, and commissions like these. We have seen, of course, the Rowley PNM administration infiltrate, including, of course, institutions such as the president. They did that. And when such situations occur in regularity, you know that it is despotism. You know that it is, of course, manipulation. You know that it is, of course, anti-democratic. You know that, of course, is the fomenting of autocratic and despotic, and the word that most of us will use and know. We're talking about self-serving, egotistic dictatorship. Dictatorship, yes. That is what Rowley wanted to impose on us. And we resisted because it was Ronald Reagan who said that democracy not just requires urgent and constant vigilance, but it also requires every successive generation to do their part for the maintenance of the best of system of government that is known to mankind, and that is democracy. I say so because when one compares Maduro's brutal, unrelenting quest for maintenance and engagement of the population in his narrow, self-serving and dictatorial group, with a small group of them called, these days it's called an oligarch, and they dominate, of course, the majority of the population who would prefer to see the backs of them through a democratic process that talks about one man, one vote. Are talking about, of course, elections. And when you could go and manipulate elections as well, as we saw in 2015 under Rowley and the PNM, and we saw it again in 2020, we knew that they were up to no damn good. And then have the audacity and the temerity to tell us that Trinidad and Tobago has always had a free and fair election, and therefore there is no need, of course, whether it be at local level or at national level, to, of course, have international independent observers. That is what Rowley told us, and was prepared, of course, to execute that, to excise that, because it happened in 2020, no foreign observers. And he was talking that talk before, of course, the advent of Donald Trump. And he knew it was time to leave. And he left, of course, in total and absolute, not only mentally unstable, and the PNM itself in a shambolic state, but it turned out that it was total and absolute humiliation. Absolute humiliation for him. And we see, of course, the repercussions of that, because he was telling us then that, of course, his succession planning, and he don't want to be a leader that, of course, leave office with his feet first, saying that he don't want to die in office, all of that. No, his conduct just before handing over to his choice. That is not democracy inside of the PNM. Why you may say that is their business, but this is about the ultimate serving of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore they cannot say that their internal business is their own. No, but it have to impact on a prime minister to be or in waiting that is totally unfit and a misfit, both within the party and outside of the party and in the population's eyes. That is what we are talking about. And so I'm saying all of that to say, starting, of course, with the Maduro repressing free speech, repressing the right to march, repressing the right to oppose, repressing the right to protest, utilizing the law enforcement apparatus of that country. Well, I want to tell you, we got that too on Rowley. We got it too under Rowley, but let's go to the lines, and then, of course, I will tell you where, when, and how. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good morning. Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you, my friend.
This is Kendrick. How you doing?
Yes, good night to you, man.
Yeah, everybody in the chat. Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
And I listen to you for a while. You see, all of them want my observation.
Uh-huh.
They want to overthrow the government. You know, they're doing the best. They're doing the best that they want to do what they will do, you know. And what you're talking about, all the thing about they want to have peer election and they want to put pressure on. And you can't go in the media, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't allow to protest and all of that.
Yes.
It's always come from Maduro. All this Raleigh did was bad with Maduro, and he was doing all of that.
That's right, and that is what. And I'm glad that you are concurring, or you are in agreement with me, because the other question remains, the elephant in the room. Why it is that none of the leaders who are in CARICOM, who are touting this zone of peace, have not mentioned that as a central issue that at least juxtaposing it with the idea of a zone of peace. Why it is that they ignore, why it is that they evade, why it is that they studiously and conveniently do not mention these things, whilst of course they are in fact realities. And the reality is that over 8 million people from Venezuela have left there, and not left because they're looking for greener pastures, but because of the persecution that they would have been subjected to by the Maduro administration. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes, also. You know, all the people who in Venezuela working for $50 a week.
I am not surprised, because if you had to carry a barrow, what they call their money, I don't think it's peso, something else. But anyhow, they had to carry a barrow of that to get a hop's bread.
Yeah, $50 a week. Now I was listening to some other Venezuela. There was $50 a week they were for, and they hardly could make it. That country is so bad. It's
hyperinflation.
Okay, yeah. And Raleigh wanted to bring this Trinidad Tobago country just like that. You see, why he's selling for Carnegie? Why he's selling petrol? I've been stressing over that for that. That was very, very straight. Because I was saying he was in bed with Maduro. and some kind of deal they make with Lennox, and then they get the get onto that, and they want to let nobody know. And some kind of deal. What deal they make that they make with Maduro, and they close here, find me down.
Yeah. And you know something too? I learned that today because I did not go into the details except to know that Penelope Beckers met with the Venezuelan ambassador. But guess what? You know, he went to the opposition office. So there is something that has been orchestrated because it seems as though it was timed in such a way for when, of course, the assembly in Venezuela decide to make, of course, Kamala, or pass a resolution to make Kamala Persad-Bissessar persona non grata, and then, of course, subsequently, there is this, of course, protest on the street, organized, of course, by the government in Venezuela, illegal, illegitimate as it is, Maduro's party, and, of course, the members who they could easily, of course, manipulate and cause them to come on the streets to appear as though the Venezuelans anti-Kamala Persad-Bissessar. But we know differently. We know it is not so. That is just persons who have no choice, they believe, and they therefore would have had to conform to the dictates of a very despotic and brutal administration led by Maduro, who has a bounty on his head for over $50 million, the highest ever the Americans have issued for any fugitive from justice in the American system. Go ahead.
But Lennox, I hear and I see somebody on social media today. I don't know the woman name, but I was watching up I was reading her a thing, right? They're gonna have a protest tomorrow in front of the Red House.
Yes.
They don't want the Americans here, and they vote or whatever, and they don't want them in the Caribbean. They don't want the presence of the United States here. So I text back and said, listen, this is none of your business. This is not Kamala to bring them here. You know. It's Trump. Why don't you talk to Trump? Why are you criticizing Kamala? Kamala didn't bring them here with the United States. Trump will make it on your own. This was going on for a long while. You know?
Yeah.
And
but I would have thought I would have thought that, and that's why we made the statement as part of the coalition. I would have thought that some kind of move would have been afoot to, of course, defend the present administration, defend, of course, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Unless, of course, if that is happening, it means that they don't want to have any clash or any untoward incident. So I suppose that could be done subsequently, because we ourselves are planning, those of us in East Port of Spain, Laverton, Beetham, and so on, who, of course, are conscious of the nationalistic and the patriotic position of Kamala Persad-Bissessar. We see it as she see it. The only thing could happen to Trinidad and Tobago, because we are placed in a win-win situation, that the only thing that could happen is that we could only advance when this thing would have come not only to a boil, but to completion. But go ahead.
yeah, but Lennox is going against Kamala. That's where she's tomorrow. I don't know if she's tomorrow.
Let's wait and see.
Tomorrow,
Let's wait and see what kind of crowd we are looking at. I would want to conclude now that if there is a reasonable crowd, it means therefore the PNM is behind it, of course, and they would have had of course a sufficient amount of misinformation, disinformation projected to the participants, because I expect that whether you are PNM or not, that you cannot countenance the position that the opposition would have taken. And this, of course, concept of a peace zone, a zone of peace, is merely an illusion and a narrative to, of course, generate political traction. And the PNM has that propensity where there is potential for political traction, they then, of course, capitalize. I doubt. I repose my not only my confidence, but I believe strongly that the majority of Trinbagonians, including persons who may feel that the PNM somehow could resurge, that they will not participate in such a, what I consider to be ill-advised, and the basis for which is ill-founded as well. But go ahead.
But Lennox, let me tell you something. Okay,
Yeah.
so listen. Donald, them shipped outside. They will not leave until they get Maduro out of
Mission accomplished. That's right. Mission accomplished is Maduro must demit office. Yes. Yes.
And they can tell him to move on there. Go tell Donald Trump that. Go over and tell them Navy and all of them pack up right away them big ship. Go and tell them that they're not going to move. They're not. Their mission. Let me tell you something, Mr. Lennox. They are looking for a loophole, and they looking for. Let me tell you whole story about.
Excuse,
Let
of
me
course.
tell you, they're
Remember
waiting
the
for-
war of
they're waiting-
Jenkins Ayres. Go ahead.
The war is not war. They're waiting for our okay. They are. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. They're looking for a target. Where is that? Where is going to be to get it? Just as they do Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, the decapitation of the
They're
leadership.
waiting-
That's what it's
waiting
called.
it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Why think they're out there?
Yeah.
Mr. Lennox, they're inside already, you know.
Of course.
So, I'm telling you, man. And of course, special forces. Okay? They are specialized in that. They are trained for that. They're inside there ready. They're just waiting for okay. They
I will
have
ha-
to get this
I have no
and
doubt
they
in
will
my
get
mind.
it.
I have no doubt in my mind.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you what I know.
Yeah,
What
you
people capable of.
you are speaking to the converted.
They are capable of. They're
Yeah.
inside there ready. Don't doubt about what's on you. See what I'm telling you. Lennox, I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100 if it's not. Watch. All right, Mr. Lennox.
My friend, as I
Let me
said,
tell you something again. Let me tell you one thing again.
you speak. Yeah, thank you very much. You are speaking to the converted. So, if the $100 is to say that that is not so, well then you don't have a counterpart or someone that is anti your stance, because we are on the same side, so to speak, in terms of our knowledge and common sense. But I asked earlier, I thought the peso, and then of course we talk about the bolivar. Let's see. I'm going to ask, of course, my phone to tell me what is the currency of Venezuela. Let's see what's going. What is the currency of Venezuela? Taking a little time, but of course, AI are trying to tell the young people who are watching as well that consult your smartphone now. You may not know something about the flag of Trinidad and Tobago. You may not know who is the current prime minister or past prime ministers and so on. Consult. Let me see. All right, just coming
The
up.
official currency of Venezuela is the bolivar,
Good.
specifically the Bolivar Digital Venezolano, or VED. Due to hyperinflation, however, the US dollar is also widely accepted and often preferred for transactions.
Right? So we know it's the bolivar and not the peso, as I erroneously and mistakenly, of course, said earlier. There's something else I wanted to consult as well, my smartphone. On somebody said something earlier. I think it had to do with a date that we were looking at in terms of the presence of the Americans here. Oh yes, yes. Let me consult the zone of peace. When was the Caribbean declared a zone of peace? In what year? So it's looking for the information.
The Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, declared the region a zone of peace in 2014 at the second summit in Havana, Cuba.
2014. So we know now. So since 2014, in Havana, Cuba, the Caribbean was declared a zone of peace. By, of course, are coming together of, I think that the acronym for it is ELAC or something like that. I will look for that later down the road. But I think we got sufficient information tonight. So 2014 a zone of peace was declared. Maybe we could find some information as to why was it declared a zone of peace. So let's go back to our smartphone and let's see if we have it. Yes, indeed. Yeah. We have to use the technology, man. See if you have it now. Why was the Caribbean declared a zone of peace?
The Caribbean was declared a zone of peace primarily to safeguard the region from external military intervention and to formally commit its member states to peaceful resolution of disputes among themselves. Historical context and key goals. This declaration is rooted in the region's long history of being a stage for great power rivalries, colonialism, and military interventions, which leaders sought to end. Major objectives of the Zone of Peace. Reject external military intervention. A core goal is to keep the Caribbean outside of foreign geopolitical confrontations, such as Cold War-era proxy battles or contemporary great power rivalries. This is a rejection of the region's historical role as a military and naval base for external powers. Peaceful settlement of disputes. The declaration commits member states to resolving any differences or conflicts among them through dialogue, negotiation, and other peaceful means, as opposed to the threat or use of force. Respect for sovereignty and non-intervention. It affirms the principles of national sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the obligation not to intervene, directly or indirectly, in the internal affairs of other states. Freedom from nuclear weapons. The declaration reinforces the existing Treaty of Tlatelolco, which established the region as the world's first densely populated nuclear weapon-free zone. Focus on development. By ensuring stability and the absence of war, the Zone of Peace provides the bedrock for sustainable development, social cohesion, and prosperity for the people of the Caribbean. Key declarations. The concept has been reaffirmed multiple times by regional bodies, with two key milestones. 1979 Havana Declaration. This early declaration on the Caribbean as a zone of peace was a precursor to broader regional commitments. 2014 CELAC Proclamation. The Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, formally declared the entire Latin America and the Caribbean region a zone of peace at its second summit in Havana, Cuba, solidifying the collective commitment. The declaration represents a collective will to assert the region's right to peace, stability, and control over its own destiny, free from the dictates and conflicts of external powers. Would you like to know more about the specific regional organizations?
All right, no tags. You see, information is very prolific, and of course, they can go on and on. But guess what? All of what was said there, the declaration of the Caribbean being a zone of peace, notice it referred to external intervention. External intervention. Nothing about internal intervention or internal causation of conflict. And that is why we are in a different era. Venezuela has not lived up to the concept and the ideology and the tenets of that principle. They've created a zone of instability. And to me, that is either a precursor, meaning that what comes before, or it could be the actioning of war if one is not careful. Actioning of war. So in such circumstance, no one can be left without, or put another way, no one can be left with doubt that Venezuela is the causative agent of this, and therefore the application of this zone of peace is not applicable in this circumstance. It's Venezuela that caused it. It's Venezuela who threatened to attack Guyana. It was Venezuela that has, of course, created the conditions for its people that is so horrendous that they have to move out into other communities, and that in itself destabilizing the region as a whole, simply because there are criminal elements as well. And you have heard, of course, Donald Trump and others are saying that they have deliberately, the Venezuelans, that is to say, empty their prisons. And if they could get it into the United States, including, of course, some of their drug cartels or their violent gangs. Understand that. And just in case you are in doubt, just in case you have reservations, let me, of course, play this video for you, where faced with intractable, a very elastic crime situation that has been extended from Trinidad in the south right up in the archipelago, Jamaica, and in between, of course, Barbados, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Kitts Nevis. The threat to the zone of peace by the actions and activities of criminal elements nestled or resident in Latin American countries such as Venezuela, Colombia, etc., that have been producing cocaine and other drugs to poison the population northwards, Caribbean, right up to the United States, Canada, etc., and Europe. Producing that in huge quantities. And at one time I read where, of course, Venezuela had had a deliberate policy to try to, what we say in Trinidad, make millions of people in the United States pipers by becoming addicted to the drugs that they would have produced. Thus, of course, part of the reason why Maduro was indicted for exporting drugs to the United States. Understand that. And a 50 million bounty on his head today. Wanted in the United States. I'm saying all that to say that the Caribbean became a victim of the proliferation of arms and ammunition and the presence of hallucinatory drugs, hallucination, Yes. Right up the Caribbean. As these organized criminal groups from Latin America and the South pursue their nefarious and inhumane activities and peddling their narcotics throughout the region. And it was so bad that, of course, while we know that it was a part of the contributory factor because of poor policies by the Rowley, PNM, and Stuart Young administrations in Trinidad that caused our murder rates to skyrocket, and guns and ammunition becoming, of course, the favorite weapon of choice that we don't produce here, including, of course, the narcotics. Whether they were sincere or whether they acknowledged that they were at fault, the fact of the matter is that they called Trinidad and Tobago's expense, or put another way, at taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago expense, a seminar on the subject of narcotics and drugs, fueling and leading to out of control crime and criminality, young people in particular in gangs, and of course harassing the population and unsuspecting decent citizens had to, of course, engage in all kinds of what I consider to be defensive stance, whether it be burglar proofing the law. I remember visiting Grenada, and the people, they were so free, they were so crime free, and that people would leave their shops open, and when they go out, people are expected, of course, to go and take off something off the shelf, see the price, pay for it, put it in the tiller or in the till, and walk out. No burglar proofing. Today is a different story. There, St. Vincent, Dominica, St. Lucia. And so, Trinidad and Tobago decided to sponsor, whether, of course, it was for political, let's say, save face or not. The fact of the matter is that Trinidad and Tobago sponsored it, and, of course, on the theme that crime and criminality is now, of course, a public health menace, a public health concern. You see, I'm saying all of that to say that that is exactly what the Americans are here for, to inhibit, to prevent, to address. And who would have an issue with that? You know, the very same PNM have an issue with it. Well, let's look at Rowley when he was, of course, talking, and a Barbadian team demonstrating or identifying how hypocritical Rowley and they were, and accusing them of some very, what I consider to be anti-support for their own population stance. Anti-support for their own population.
Criminals at large in our communities, from Bahamas to Suriname, St. Lucia to Trinidad and Tobago, that they be deemed to be acts of terrorism.
Good evening to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Today is Sunday, February.
Let's start all over.
Criminals at large in our communities, of the criminals at large in our communities, from Bahamas to Suriname, St. Lucia to Trinidad and Tobago, that they be deemed to be acts of terrorism.
Good evening to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. Today is Sunday, February 23rd, 2025, and this is Operation Liberation. In the closing stages of the Caribbean Heads of Government conference held here in Barbados, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley, stated that gangs should be classified as terrorist organizations. Mr. Rowley, I would like to say to you, sir, in fact, I can't call you sir. That's too good a term to address you by. I gotta say, boy, because your behavior to date has been nothing more than juvenile, asinine behavior. And one of the things that I have to say to you is that Trinidad and Tobago signed the UN Security Resolution 1373 Anti-Terrorist Act on the 20th of September 2001. On the 19th of July 2007, Trinidad and Tobago also agreed and acceded to the Bioweapons Convention. Trinidad and Tobago also signed the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2018. Trinidad and Tobago also signed on the 25th of September 2013 the Arms Trade Treaty. But yet, you come to Barbados and sit down in a Caribbean Heads of Government conference and tell the CARICOM members that gang members need to be classified as terrorists. I want to ask you one question, Mr. Rowley, and being as your head is shining brighter than your future right now, I would like you to answer this question to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Who are the real terrorists? Trinidad and Tobago has recorded 3,702 murders between 2018 and 2024, and it's still ongoing because of policies your PNM government put in place. Who are the real terrorists? Furthermore, you, under your administration, implemented biological weapons in violation of UN Security Resolutions 1373. What have you done? You have violated that UN Security Resolution by allowing armed gangs to operate in Trinidad with full knowledge of your government. Mr. Rowley, you and the PNM will be brought to justice via the Caribbean COVID Crimes Criminal Justice Tribunal. You are nothing more than a corrupt terrorist organizer, and you are a corrupt political leader whom the rest of the corrupt Caribbean leaders have now sought to pay tribute to, simply because you are now covering your dirty little backside, trying to run away from the justice that is coming. The people of the Caribbean will hold you accountable, and you will be tried, you will be convicted, and you will be executed for the crimes against humanity. Have a good evening.
I thought, of course, as I told you, that I personally experienced that huge, massive attack on the people for protesting. And I link it up, of course, earlier with the Maduro and his own conduct in Venezuela that caused over 8 million people to migrate out of there. Well, I thought I would add that experience in Trinidad because we were tear-gassed in Pushback 2. Remember that? We were tear-gassed when we got over 5,000 persons to be at the Savannah. The previous one, Pushback 1, was 9,000 and 30-something of us who were jailed. Of course, I wasn't part of the jailed person, or should I say arrested persons, but I was in the position as a consequence to be able to find JP, and I want to thank JP Stephen, for his services to come and bail these arrested persons, both at Sinclair Police Station and at St. James Police Station. Rowley and them did that. That is dictatorship. Because we said that the Rowley and the PNM were engaged in forced vaccination and that they were corrupt and that they should call elections immediately, but they would have none of it and send, of course, the police tear gas unit to tear gas our tails in circumstances where people were peacefully moving out of the savannah as instructed. but they thought that they should teach us a lesson. So in the first instance, they intimidated us. The numbers moved from 9,000 in the first instance to 5,000 in the second instance. And yet still, but we weren't deterred. We did not succumb. We went to San Fernando and had pushback 3. And when they did not give us the bandstand in San Fernando, we went to the Marcus Garvey statue, and we had, of course, we dubbed it a day of prayer. And the two, of course, like pilgrimage style, walk through the streets of a certain specific route through San Fernando, and we were allowed to pray, but we were not allowed to march. We were not allowed to have a pilgrimage, a religious march. Yeah. Rowley and PNM did that. And all you pretending that only forget one, those who want to, of course, engage in what they suddenly have become, by some streak of self-righteous indignation, they love you. Well, look at here. Look at here. That's where we were, in the savannah, peaceful march. And Rowley and Young and Penny and Fitzgerald Hines, etc. Tear gassed us, innocent, protesting for our rights. Tear gas. Police did that in Trinidad. So you can imagine, Maduro doesn't have any impediment and is unfettered dominance. I can imagine what Venezuelans go through there. This is Trinidad here. Shame, abomination. Minds you, of course, of a communist country where the people decided that they want the freedom and the authorities will have none of it. None of it. That's Rowley and they. Penelope Beckles was part of it. And you want to go and follow those? They remind me, of course, of Hitler. When they engage in populist views, trying to gain the sympathy of the people. And when they get there, they do this to them. People stay at home if that is organized by, if there's any protest organized by the opposition. Stay at home. Please, you'll be doing the nation a favor. You hold no allegiance to them because they have done us harm and wrong. Yes, watch it.
Mr. Rowley, you and the PNM will be brought to justice via the Caribbean COVID Crimes Criminal Justice Tribunal. You are nothing more than a corrupt terrorist organizer, and you are a corrupt political leader whom the rest of the corrupt Caribbean leaders have now sought to pay tribute to, simply because you are now covering your dirty little backside trying to run away from the justice that is coming. The people of the Caribbean will hold you accountable, and you will be tried, you will be convicted, and you will be executed for the crimes against humanity.
Yes, man. So people don't bother, don't even consider Don't even think about it. We are in a safe place. Kamala Prasad Bisasa and the UNC and the coalition of interests and people like myself will ensure that equity prevails, that meritocracy is a fundamental pillar for advancement, and that every single person gets an opportunity to advance and to share in the resources of the country. That much we owe to you, and that much and more we are committed to. So people, it's now, of course, yes, it's after 9:30, sorry. So therefore, we have come to the end. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And see you, of course, on Saturday night, when we may have on a Saturday a little earlier program to accommodate the kids, the young people who we must nurture and must put them on the straight and narrow and on the right path towards a better Trinidad and Tobago with their presence as they grow up biologically, chronologically, and biologically. That is what the vision is, and that is what we must all aspire to. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and of course I'll see you tomorrow morning on the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, but not tomorrow night on the corridor transformation. Let me make it clear. Yes, indeed, of course, let's of course end with what we started, and that is to say, of course, the bandit man.
Bandit, a police constable who should have more seriously the 15,000 in CID. That's a bandit. Look, the bandit. Last week I'm making marketing tongue. As I put on my basket, it's gone, it's gone. That's a bandit. Look, the bandit. Well, looky there, looky there, looky there, looky there, looky there. Hold him, don't let him get away. Hi, hi, hi. Boy, boy, boy. Hi, hi, hi. They say crime rate is high. This you must not deny. Well, don't talk about bank robberies, pickpocketers, and motor car thieves. Well, it's a gallery and with watch, diamond rings and gold chains. Well, if you get touched, through the law you must not complain. If an aram about his waist, it only breaking down all over the